Okay, so just as an initial observation, we do have a much denser environment here, so we do get quite a bit of drag, but I've already dislodged one sampling sphere, and lost another on the translation out to the rock box.
Copy that, diver. We will try and reattach when you reach the rock box.
Yeah, affirmative. Okay, so I've gotten to the APFR boom here.
Copy that.
I'm gonna go ahead and just have the diver hold on to these spheres. Okay,
Affirmative.
translating up the boom out to the foot restraint. Okay, I'm in the APFR. Looks like I got some different samples to my right and left here. All the spheres are intact, looks like.
Copy that.
And standing by.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and do the rock box on your right.
Okay, the first rock box on my right or the second? It looks like I got neutral closest to me, and then some white.
We'll go ahead and start with the neutral, and then we'll work from there.
Okay, roger that.
So you're going to want to position the tool when you're ready in a perpendicular fashion to the sample box.
Okay, stand by. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to need some diver assistance, just holding this box down. Okay, so it looks like there is one sphere ready to sample locked into place. I do have it perpendicular to the surface here. As you can see, we're losing a few bricks, but may I go ahead and just take a sample?
Okay, yeah, so just go ahead and squeeze the handle back.
Okay, so I'm squeezing the
large handle.
The large handle. I'm pulling it back. I do see the sphere has opened. Looks
so
like
you have a centered one there?
Repeat your last.
Perfect. You got sample collected.
You're coming through a little bit weak.
It looks like you have a sample collected there, so
yes.
That's great.
Yes,
go ahead, and then the next step is going to be we're going to test the finger trigger, the smaller one.
Okay, so yeah, just a confirmation. I do have a captive sample, and to test the finger trigger, I'm going to go ahead and withdraw the trigger. It looks like it is just about 1/8 of an inch off of the elongated handle now, and in full withdraw.
Affirmative. Can you check the claws and see if the teeth are visible?
So I am not sure what teeth I'm looking for. I don't see any teeth that are engaging the actual the sides of the sphere here. I don't see any teeth locking those into place.
Copy that. Then the next step, then, if you don't see any, is to try and rotate that top sphere down. So grab the front sphere and pull it down like you're going to rotate it out.
Okay, so I'm grabbing this front sphere. I'm going to pull it towards me.
Copy that.
And I am encountering a little bit of difficulty. Okay, so the problem there was just one of these was catching ever so slightly. So it is able to rotate now. I did have that initial sphere open slightly when I touched it.
Copy that.
So again, I'm just kind of being careful not to dislodge these. The magnets maybe a larger issue later on, but looks like we do have a good seat here of the next sample sphere. I see that it looks like pretty much uh, in the middle of this. I guess you could say this primary capture frame. It's pretty secure in there.
Copy that. Next step would be then to hold it perpendicular and try and open and close the claw.
Okay,
But you
so
have to let go of the finger trigger first. My apologies.
right. I was going to say, so I'm letting go. I do see that it's not. It doesn't want to just immediately go back into the retracted position. I did push it just now with my finger. So that is now completely flush with the outside of the hand guard here.
Copy that.
And I guess go ahead with sample collection.
Do a dry run first of just opening and closing the claw. When it's perpendicular as well, that probably will help.
Okay, copy that. So perpendicular, I'm going to do a dry run. I'm going to go ahead and squeeze the elongated handle. It did spring open just now. I'm going to let it go. And looks like we have a good aligned seat. So that was a good dry run.
Go for the dry run.
Okay, are we go to take a sample now?
Affirmative, yes. Take a sample. Try and look for a larger sample if at all possible.
Okay, larger sample copy. So I'm going to go ahead, once again, depress the elongated handle. I do see a positive opening here. I got my eye on particular sample, the neutral sample. Okay, so that sample that it was larger than the last. We have a good collection. I released the elongated handle and did looks like seat well. It's looks like the alignment is good, and there's no gap. So
Copy that. The next step would be let's go ahead and try for the lock box where they're not floating. And go ahead and release this initial sample that you just collected.
okay. So that the initial sample is released. That sphere is closed. We're going to go ahead and put a lid on this box and then move on to a different type of sample, correct? So divers, let's go ahead and put a lid on this. Okay. And TC, what would the next sample be, preferably? We have, looks like kind of small black rock on my left and slightly larger white rock on my far right.
Let's attempt the slightly larger white rock. We're looking for something that's around 3 inches in diameter.
Around 3 inches in diameter. Okay, so it doesn't appear to be that big. Much smaller. Looks like, largest size maybe is, okay, looks like we got a slightly large oval shaped piece right here that might be good.
I see that. That one looks good.
Okay, well, standing by.
Your go for attempt.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead once again and depressing the elongated handle. Still no problems with that. I know there's it does bend slightly, but at any rate, the sampling sphere is open. I'm going to go ahead and approaching perpendicular to the sample. I release the handle. As you can see, it's captured, but the sphere isn't completely seated. There's a gap. So I'm going to go ahead and just nudge that sample back into the sphere. And I don't know if you saw that, but we did have a good close there. The magnetic, the latch is kicked in.
Okay, does it look like the sphere is misaligned when you close it there?
No, no, the alignment as of right now is fine. It's perfect. But initially, when I did get the sample, um, I noticed that the alignment was a little bit off because the sample was protruding through the opening. And again, that might be a gravity thing. When I pushed it back in, um, the sphere closed and it seated properly. But that that's going to be something you may have to worry about with the gravity, and then also with the weaker the weaker magnets.
Copy that. So the next attempt we would like to, well, before, how hard is it to squeeze the trigger open and close? Is it relatively easy? Is it straining on the forearm?
So are you referring to the elongated handle or the trigger?
The elongated handle.
The elongated handle. Yeah. So no, very little effort involved. There's it does take a relatively significant amount of force, but just some small observations. I noticed that as my a few of my bottom fingers decide as they grasp the handle, I see some flexing in the handle itself, the bar, and what that leads to, it looks like, is some offset, as you can see. And so what that's going to ultimately probably do is just increase the force you need to overcome that, to realign it, and ultimately, get all the way retracted. So what I was talking about, just once again, is as you can see, these fingers are pulling harder on this side because the trigger's in the way. So it's kind of canting the handle, and so it does take a little bit more force at that point to get it to retract all the way.
Okay, copy that.
Yeah, but otherwise relatively smooth.
All right, the next step then, we want to try different capture angles if we can see if that's any easier for you.
Sure, go ahead. Oh, are you asking my opinion on capture angles?
Yes, sorry. So would you feel comfortable going ahead and turning it at 90 degrees and then trying to capture again?
Oh, sure. So you're referring to perpendicular again?
More like 45 degrees, my mistake.
Oh, 45 degrees. Okay. Yeah, so we can go ahead and try that. Uh, one thing that we're going to have an issue with these rocks is the gravity again, and the force you have that's going to keep your sphere closed. But so I'm going to go ahead and approach from 45 degrees. I went ahead and grasped the elongated handle, retracted it. The sphere is open.
Copy that. Maybe attempt more of a scooping action when you try and capture.
Okay, roger that. So approaching the sample bed, I'm going to kind of scrape into me and release at the same time.
We have 1 minute remaining.
Okay, so that was actually a decent sample. What I did is I approached at a 45-degree angle. I kind of scraped along the bed towards me, maintaining that angle, and then released the handle. And we do have a good sample. It's not a large sample, and the sample rock isn't anywhere near that 3 inches diameter. But we do have a good sample. One thing just to note is that the alignment is on, but the gap is indicative of a weak close. So there is still a gap here on the underside. Again, if I reach around and were to just, gently close with my hand, it seats just fine.
Copy that.
So I did hear that we have a little time remaining. Are we going to do a translation back to Orion, or are we going to end the test?
I believe we're going to end the test. It's up to you whether or not you want to translate back to Orion.
It's up to you. If you need more data, then we'll stay at the rock bed. If not, we could call it here or continue with the translation.
Go ahead and attempt to translate, see if those spheres are going to get knocked loose again.
Okay. Just one more time, you were weak on that last. So you want to see if the spheres come loose?
Yeah, we'd like to see if they come loose when you translate back to Orion.
Okay, roger that. Beginning translation.
Divers, as soon as you get to the hatch, bring the diver up to the platform.
Copy. So TC, just in translation comments here, I have a diver offering some 1G support. It's a little bit negative in the water, but as of yet, no spheres have come loose. I have a feeling that it'd be much more of an issue with a direct impact, along the translation route.
Copy that.
That would most likely cause one of them to dislodge, but as of yet, no issues. Okay, guys.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, divers, bring the subject up to the stand.